Among countless sports anime, Blue Lock, Ping Pong the animation, garbage. I haven't even seen Haiku, I don't know why I'm being rude to it. Why would someone choose to watch Hajime no Ippo? Actually, why would anyone watch a combat sports anime to begin with? There is plenty of anime that have combat that are not pigeonholed by rules. And most importantly, why does an anime from the 1900s still have a very active fan base? The first thing we need to look at is I could say a lot about the cell shading in Hajime no Ippo. I personally prefer the vintage look of anime. However, this video is not going to be a matter of my opinion. But as far as your opinion is concerned, if you like cell shading, I promise you, you will like the way that Hajime no Ippo looks. I mean, just look at the clips I've been showing you throughout this video. The lines are sharp, the colors are vibrant, the backgrounds are beautiful. Hajime no Ippo objectively has some of the best animation from the 90s. If you didn't know, cel-shaded animation is mostly hand-drawn, which means there's absolutely no shortcuts and it shows when it comes to backgrounds. I mean, just take a look at this screenshot. If we zoom into the back, it is so incredibly detailed from the floor to the sky. It just all looks so good, and if you're someone who has not given an older anime a chance because of the animation, I highly recommend you do. I really think you'll change your mind and even start to prefer older animation. How many anime can you truly say are life-changing? And no, I'm not talking about Dr. Stone made me like science. I mean anime that truly changed you for the better. You might actually have something in mind, but I don't think any anime has been proven to inspire people more than Hajime no Ippo. And that's one of many reasons why this anime has a fan base all these years after it was first released. This is not a show you watch and forget about. Its lessons stick with you long after you finish it. The many side characters as well as the main character deal with problems very similar to the ones you have encountered in your life regardless of who you are. You will take something away from this show, whether it's discovering a passion for fitness or rediscovering a passion that you lost. There is countless real problems and real situations discussed in Hajime no Ippo. Let's talk romance, something that could easily be covered while I'm talking about the characters later in this video, but I feel like it deserves its own section. This is something that is done very differently in Hajime no Ippo, as the idea is introduced in episode 1, however, it is very stretched out throughout the entire series, not in a way that makes you think it is slowly paced, but in a way that makes it seem very realistic and authentic. Now, as far as the manga is concerned, I'm not going to get into that. People definitely have their complaints about the romance. However, the way it's done in the anime is it's sprinkled throughout the story and it makes you wonder what is going to happen next. However, it doesn't distract you too much from the main story. It's not only very well done and something that will keep you watching the show, but it's also something that I don't think people will find cringe, which is very rare when it comes to romance in anime. Most characters in Hajime no Ippo are extremely fleshed out, whether that be Ippo's friends or opponents. Without spoiling too much of the show, we get to see the perspective of Ippo's opponents before they fight. In most shonen anime, yes, there is a villain presented to us, but the question becomes, why care? Why do I want this villain to win? And most of the time, the answer is you don't. All you care about is the protagonist. Hajime no Ippo does a very good job at getting you to care about the opponents. The fleshed out opponents not only gives you a reason to care about the fight, but it also gives you something to think about. Do I want this character to win? Do I care more about this side character than I do about Ippo, the character we've been following this whole journey? These are questions you will be asking yourself when you're watching Hajime no Ippo, because despite the name, there really is no main character. And of course, besides the opponent, we also get to see the perspective of Ippo's friends, Takamura, Aoki, Komura, even the coach. Most anime, especially one from the 90s, gives us the main character, gives us a lot of story about this main character, and then gives him some supporting cast members to bring out his uniqueness. Hajime no Ippo is really not a story about Ippo, it is a story about everyone in the Kamigawa gym and every opponent they have to face along the way. Not only getting to see every single character in the same light as the main character, but then getting to see all of these characters interact is something you are not going to find in any other show. Every character has you wondering, how is this guy's story going to end? Except for Kobashi. Since you've made it this far in the video, let's play a game. How many subscribers do you think I deserve? Think of the number in your head, and if it's lower than what I actually have, drop a subscription to help me hit that number. We are currently at 1,850, and also I made this video in a way to where you could send it to your friend who you've been trying to convince to watch the show and he won't get spoiled. So if you want to share it with him, feel free. Enjoy the rest of the video. When talking about the fights in Hajime no Ippo, it's hard not to cycle right back to the animation because everything looks so fluid and good. As I mentioned earlier, the characters are all written so well that you are given a reason to care about the fights, but that's not what I want to focus on here. Throughout Hajime no Ippo, we get to see Ippo develop a lot as a fighter, not just throughout his matches, but in training. We get to see Ippo practice how to defeat a hook, for example, or how to work on his movement. So when a fight comes along and we get to see Ippo implement the things that he has learned throughout the episodes, it's very rewarding. In most shonen anime, training is a simple matter of this character trained for 3 years and now he is a lot stronger. That is not the case in Hajime no Ippo. In one fight, he might be training to prepare for a lethal hook, and then in his next fight, we get to see him implement the training that helped him win his previous fight. Seeing the training from previous episodes being put to use in the actual fight is very rewarding, and it feels like from episode 1 you get to see Ippo develop to the fighter that he becomes near the end of the series. There is not a single moment in the show that will have you wondering how did he get this good or how did he learn to do that, because you learn right alongside of Ippo. But I think what truly makes the fights in Hajime no Ippo special is the realism. I've now made 2 videos talking about Hajime no Ippo's real-life counterparts in the anime, so I'm gonna try to keep this kinda short. But what I will tell you right now is if you know nothing about boxing coming into this show, you will be walking out with a pretty decent knowledge for the sport. A lot of the fighting styles you will see in Hajime no Ippo are based off of boxers in real life, thanks to the writer of Hajime no Ippo being a huge fan of the sport and even a coach. Thanks to this, not only are you going to learn a lot about boxing throughout watching Hajime no Ippo, but the fights are a lot more enjoyable as there isn't too much anime nonsense. Now, of course, some moves are heavily hyperbolated to make the fights more interesting. However, a lot of what is seen is very applicable in real life. And this writing is implemented throughout the entire show, not just the fights. Everything is made to be pretty realistic. What you might not even realize if you've watched a lot of anime is that a lot of the tropes get pretty repetitive and annoying. For example, hyperbolated arguments between the main characters over something very small that could easily be resolved. These tropes are not really seen in Hajime no Ippo as the anime is written from the ground up to be pretty close to real life. And yes, obviously there is altercations, but every single argument in the anime is pretty realistic and understandable. If you've ever been watching anime and realized that it kind of felt like it was not made for people in your age group, Hajime no Ippo will be a huge relief as it actually feels like it was targeted towards adults. Granted, a lot of 90s anime was made this way, but everything from the fights to the interactions feel pretty genuine in Hajime no Ippo, and it made my experience watching the show a lot more enjoyable. And with that, I think I've covered most of the key points. Of course, there is things like the music that I think are absolutely wonderful, but you have to watch Hajime no Ippo for all them little things, and I think this will easily become your favorite anime as well. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll see you later.